Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EVMC podcast. Join us for this all-access pass backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live event industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to incredible guests who journey with us as we dive deep into the world of venues, tours, festivals, and everything in between. Grab your laminate and meet us in Venueland.
Hello and welcome to a special detour episode of Adventures in Venueland, an EVMC podcast. I'm Dave Rettelberger, and along with my co-host Paul Hooper, today's episode is a little bit different. It's a detour, a side trip, where we take a look at some kind of topic in the live entertainment industry, and today we're talking all about breaking in. Paul, you want to kind of share your idea you had here for this one?
Sure. It's kind of this, we've done a number of different bonus episodes and bonus episode series. We're always exploring that idea and getting some feedback, in part by one of the people on this Zoom who came up to us at the conference. We kind of had been thinking about maybe exploring the idea of, talking to some professors or doing different things like that in the past, and it hadn't quite materialized yet. And this sort of sparked that idea. So doing a series that maybe we can revisit however often. Maybe it's a little bit of a round table talking with different people all about, making that journey from, college or whatever it is into the industry a little bit easier, hopefully, for people. And so, today we're obviously talking with some people that are taking that step, and they were people that were three of our interns at this year's EVMC conference in Atlanta. But who knows? Maybe the next episodes are with hiring managers or professors that teach this. We'll try to get some different perspectives, and hopefully it's an opportunity for people to learn and make their journey easier.
And, Paul, with that said, it's definitely something that I run into a lot is where, doing an informational interview about somebody looking to break into the business or talking with somebody. And I always, recommend, hey, you can hear from the best of the best on our podcast. Sometimes people that are newer to the industry, sometimes people that have been around for a long time. But, where do they start? I think this would be a great first episode if you have somebody who is looking to break into the industry to kind of be able to hear what's going on with their peers. And so let's just go ahead and get rolling. Let's have you guys introduce yourself. So our guests today, we have three guests here with us, and Sierra, we'll start with you. Go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and kind of what you're hoping to have happen here in the industry.
Absolutely. So I'm a sport and event marketing student. I've basically made it my personality to always have too many things on the go. So I work full time as the operations and admin coordinator by day. And then I volunteer as the PR and marketing director for a junior hockey team by night. Somewhere in between there, I run my own social media management business. So sleep is kind of a concept I've heard of, but don't know personally. I've always been super passionate about sports, especially hockey, but my internship at EVMC, it was a total game changer, honestly. I went in thinking I'd stay strictly in the sports lane, but being surrounded by creativity and the fast-paced energy of live entertainment and venue marketing, it kind of made something click, and it opened my eyes to a whole new side of the industry that I didn't even realize that I'd fallen in love with. So I'm here today not just as a hockey sports person, but as a full-blown event marketing enthusiast, and I'm really excited to soak up all the insight from this conversation.
Where'd you go to school?
Fanshawe College. I'm in school right now part-time at Fanshawe College for sport and event marketing, and I went to Brock University as well as St. Clair College. So it's my third time in school.
Third time's a charm.
You're
right?
A masochist. Yep. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Honestly.
And when are you hoping to graduate?
I'm just part-time right now, so it'll be end of next year, but it's kind of nice I can do an internship with school, so I'm excited for that. Have a couple of things kind of on the go, so we'll see where it takes me.
And what city do you call home?
London, Ontario, Canada.
There you go. All right. Very cool. Marquise, am I saying that right?
Yes, sir. Marquise.
All right. Marquise, tell us about yourself.
Yes, sir. My name is Marquise. I am an event coordinator and also an intern for the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. I am currently at the Alamo Dome. It's a stadium here in San Antonio, Texas, where we host a couple of different sporting events and also major concerts. I am part-time in school. I'm continuing my education for a master's at University of Kanye. I graduated from West Texas A&M University here in Texas. And I was a EVMC intern this past year. And with that, it very opened up my eyes in this
Yeah.
industry. Sports, and just meeting a lot of great individuals made me want to branch out even more. So with that, I hope to either be in the marketing or also artist management.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that is, Dave and I talk about it so much all the time, but and it sounds sometimes probably to people listening who have not been to the conference like we're just in a constant sales pitch mode for it. But it really is this great thing where, you know, when you do go for the first time, especially if you've never been to an industry conference, your eyes are widened. I remember it myself. I didn't come as an intern, but I remember coming as like a coordinator or something really early, and it's all of a sudden like, whoa, there's a lot of other people like me here, and they all kind of have that same type A energy, and and they all kind of love live events in some capacity, whether it's hockey or you know, whatever, or just different venue sizes, stadiums to theaters to clubs. And it's just kind of magical when you first experience that.
Agreed.
You said you're getting your master's. What made you decide to pursue a master's?
Definitely, it took one specific event. I was talking to one of the tour managers, and it opened my eyes a lot more. And then especially after the conference, right after I touched down back in Texas, I was like, I want to go back to school. I want to see if I can like get that extra push just to help out.
Yeah, when are you hoping to have that wrapped up by?
Hopefully by December. Right now I'm working, I am part-time too, and also juggling with full-time. So I'm hoping sometime in a year or so.
There you go. All right.
Awesome.
Last but not least, Naomi.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. So I'm Naomi. I'm currently a master's student in my MBA in Ontario at McMaster University. And most recently, I was an intern at MLSE in Toronto under the amazing Adam Arment and Daniel Klein. And it was my first like foray into this industry. And what I realized at the time, I get very obsessive when I have like a new job or new passion or something I'm into, and I try to learn as much as I can. And what I realized is, I was listening to this podcast. I was trying to get as much information as I could from people in the industry, but I realized there wasn't a lot of information for people like me just starting out. I didn't know how to dress in the office. I didn't know how to book a meeting, and I didn't know kind of what it was like to be in the industry from an intern's perspective. And while the information from people who are higher up is very aspirational, it's not super tangible to what I need right now.
Yeah.
When I got to EVMC and I was talking to a lot of the people who are higher up, I realized that a lot of people got into the industry in very different ways, like through connections or just like right out of college. And I think it's a very different landscape right now, and it's very tricky. So being able to open this kind of conversation, especially with the other interns, I think is so important. And yeah, I thank you all for being here and talking to me.
Well, how did you find out the answers to those questions? Let's start with, what are you supposed to wear to the office? How'd you figure that one out?
Yeah, so that was me researching TikTok. Yeah, it was me trying to find like a day in the life, or trying to find someone who had a YouTube channel at one point, or some sort of Reddit forum. And then just kind of trial and error. Once you're there too, you kind of figure out the lay of the land the first few weeks, and it's really scary. And each office is going to have their different ways of doing things,
Yeah.
but tried to find as much information I can. So I hope maybe someone listening to this right now can get a little bit of help like that too.
Yeah. So how would you describe the? I guess it's probably a little different wherever you're working, but it can be a little challenge to find out that right line, so you're not too casual and also not overdressed.
Yeah, and especially like as an intern, you don't want to like look lazy, or you don't want to be too professional, and then you're like out of place a little bit. So it's kind of sometimes a tough balance, and something you maybe don't think about if you've been there so long.
Sierra, you're in the business now, and if you could go back and tell yourself before your first day, before your day one, what's the thing, piece of advice you wish somebody would have told you before you got to your first day?
Oh my gosh. That's a tough one because right now I'm just a volunteer in my position and it is what I make it. So I'm kind of learning on the go by trial and error. And
We're still all learning on the go by trial and error.
Yeah,
True.
trust me. Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
exclusive to your all's level.
I think honestly, I think the biggest piece of advice I would love to hear before would be to figure out how to lean on the people that I have to support me. I'm kind of somebody who likes to do everything, but I don't have to, and I don't need to, and I shouldn't. So I have a great team this year, and I'm learning how to delegate. I'm still very much learning how to do that, but it's great. It's a great skill to have to be able to delegate and kind of be a bit of a leader. So yeah, so just somebody to teach me how to do that and tell me that it's okay to do that, that I don't have to do everything.
Marquise, same question to you.
Yeah.
Kind of picking off like what Sierra said, I'm the type of person, if I get tasked or any opportunity, I would like to try to do it myself, but there's times that I've learned that I need to use my resources. And so I think my biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask for help. And also, you're going to fail as much as you succeed. That's one thing I had to learn. Every event is different.
If not more,
If not
expect to fail more. Yeah.
And then so I had to like juggle between getting comfortable with that, being comfortable, uncomfortable. And so I think just asking for help, asking for resources, even though if I might know the answer, I would like to have that second confirmation just to help me and also help the team. So I'll definitely ask my resources and also my team.
Naomi, anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, I would say, especially for me, getting my first internship and then my internship with EVMC, my biggest thing that I worked on was really fostering my relationships like outside of the workplace, and making sure that like I was almost like I was developing very unique, strong relationships with my coworkers. Even like when I was applying to the job, I was reaching out to them, talking to them, trying to learn as much as I could. And then once I was in it, making sure that like I understood the people I was working around and like you knew things about them, because the people around you is what is going to bring you to the next level. And you need to, like Sierra said, like kind of rely on people sometimes and have them know who you are at the same time. And that's how I eventually got my EVMC internship. It was from fostering my relationships with Daniel and then him referencing for me. So it's kind of developing those over time and seeing that where that goes.
That's awesome. I mean, kind of talking about EVMC, you all were obviously there with us, very exciting. And I think you and your other interns, your fellow interns, were such a great group this year. And I don't just say that because I'm staring at your faces right now, but you really were a really great group. And one thing I did notice, which I think can be a challenge, and I remember it being a challenge when I first started coming, is that you all did a good job of kind of engaging with people. And I think that can be really hard sometimes because you are talking to people that, are at various points of their career, but they all have more experience than you. And it can seem like everyone knows what they're doing and has it all figured out when they in fact do not. But that can be very intimidating. And I think you all did a really great job of trying to, cut through that and introduce yourself and socialize and meet different people, obviously connecting with each other because you're going to connect over a lot of similar challenges, but also, trying to network with other people. And I think, is that something that you all felt challenged by? Did it feel natural? Did you challenge yourselves with that as you were kind of approaching the conference?
Most definitely. I struggled with sometimes social anxiety a little bit.
Yeah.
100%.
Just hearing the thought about me putting myself out there. One thing I had to learn is that I'm trying to still find a balance between showing people who I am and what I'm passionate about and also what I'm dedicated towards. But I felt like this year, especially that first day when all the interns came together, that actually opened me up and made me feel comfortable because we had like deep talks about our passions, our goals, and stuff. So I think that initial first day of us meeting each other for the first time really broke the ice for me in order to continue on through this conference during this week to go up to people and start meeting them and show them who they are, who I am, and like why we're passionate about this.
I feel like we always knew that we had each other's backs. And I think because of that, we felt safer to be able to reach out because at least we had each other and we could go back and be like, that was really scary, but I'm glad we did
Right.
that. That was really great. And then also and it kind of cemented how much I love this industry. Even how scary it was, everyone was so open and willing to talk to us. Like, even it was so scary, but no one ever made me feel bad or smaller than them or like I didn't have experience. Everyone was very open and welcome to talking and wanted to share their experiences, and everyone was so willing to help. So it just made the whole week so great.
Yeah, I agree. And kind of going off what Marquise said about going in with like a little bit of social anxiety, being a little scared to talk to people. I'm the same way. I'm a bit shy, not super outgoing, but I went into it thinking nobody has any idea who I am. I'm meeting every single person here for the first time. I can be whoever I want to be. They have no idea what I was like outside of this. So I kind of just adopted that and kept that in my mind as I went through the week. It helps me to be more outgoing. And just another thing was also just not going up to people. Obviously, they all want to help. They're there as knowledgeable industry leaders, but not going into it wanting something from them in terms of like a job. Kind of just being conversational, getting to know them, wanting that connection versus wanting something from them. I think that made it a lot easier and a lot less pressure on us as well. Just not thinking like, okay, I have to like try and get a job from this person. More so just trying to get some advice, create a connection, and kind of go from there. And if that turns into a job down the road, that's great. And if it doesn't, you at least have that connection to go off of.
Yeah, social anxiety is something that that I deal with. I'm still in this business, and but I just again, it's kind of like you guys were saying. If you just kind of go there and realize everybody's in the same boat, and we're all in this together, and these aren't people that you're going to see anywhere else, and you can kind of almost put on a mask or a different, be a different person than you are back home.
Or take off the mask, sometimes
right,
it's
one of
like,
the two. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like when you're there, it's like, I feel like, I feel like I try to present myself very naturally in my day job and around people. But I also know that in my company, it's a big company and there's only so many people that work in marketing. And so really, even if you're kind of genuine around your coworkers, they don't really know marketing. Or if I have friends that are in marketing, they're not in like event marketing, they're in some other marketing. So it's really tricky. And so I do feel like, honestly, when I go to the conference, it's like I'm all of a sudden able to really be like myself and connect with people in deeper ways than I could elsewhere, because it's like, it's such a kind of, it feels niche, even though there's 500 or 600 people there. It feels like we all kind of have that same like really unique kind of passion, and it makes it very unique in that way.
It's a crazy business, and I know some of you are more interested in the sports side or the music side or whatever it is. But what was the thing that got you hooked on the live event industry? Marquise, we'll start with you.
I would actually say me getting the opportunity to see one of my favorite music artists and actually being able to meet him. It was like a little surprise. I was not expecting this. It was just, hey, you're going to a concert. Okay, who? And so
Who was it?
it was Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
It was Kendrick Lamar.
Somewhat little bit of a successful guy. I think people have heard of him. Yeah.
Yes. And then, so during the show, it was like the pre-performers. I was eating with my aunt that worked at the stadium at the time. And then out of nowhere, he just walks by and he was just like, hey, I like your shoes. Like, we started having a conversation. I was like, did I just talk to Kendrick Lamar? And so the scene, for me, I love seeing the crowd being enjoy, because I know some of us, we all go through a couple of things, but it felt like in that specific moment, everybody was just free. Everyone was happy, and they lived for this moment. They waited a whole year for this moment. So I think just seeing the crowd being free and also seeing that performance really sparked me in order to like go into this industry with the sports side or also the music industry side. So I think that really gave me positive reinforcement on doing this, knowing that I'm going to be a part of something during this event.
Tell me about those shoes. What were the shoes?
Oh, it's just
You call them your Kendrick shoes now? You're like, gotta put those in a case.
I put it like in a case. Naomi?
Yeah, so I grew up performing when I was younger. I used to like do theater, and music was always kind of a big part of my life, but I never really knew it was an option for me to really work in. I always wanted to, and I would apply for jobs that I was so underqualified for, and like, I just didn't think it would ever happen for me. And then I got this chance at Scotiabank Arena. And we had this one show, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, which I just wasn't really expecting anything from. And I stood there on the floor and I looked out at everyone with their lights on their cameras, and I just started crying.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah, I was like, this is so special, and I'm so grateful to be here. There's such community, and it feels like so alive when you're in that space. And now I'm just chasing that feeling every day.
You said you did a lot of some musical theater. I got to ask, what was your favorite show you were in?
And I was in Xanadu.
Nice.
Xanadu.
My wife is a huge Xanadu fan. So
Really?
yeah.
It was great. I actually got to meet Olivia Newton-John out of it. It was incredible.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. Sierra, I know your interest started more on the sports side. So where did that bug come from?
So the sports side came from just growing up playing hockey, playing sports, being in a sports family, and just knowing that hockey was my passion. And if I couldn't play hockey as a career, I wanted to make a career in some other way of it. And it was actually EVMC that broadened my horizon into other types of marketing and opened my interest into live entertainment and venue marketing. And now I'm kind of honestly leaning more towards that, kind of on the venue side, just because you get to do everything. You get to have a little bit of the music side, a little bit of the sports side. And that's exciting because I've always loved going to concerts. I go to so many concerts every single year, and it's such an incredible experience. And to get to be a part of making that experience great for people attending, it seems just so exciting. And that's kind of the avenue that I'm pursuing now, which is crazy to say because it's been hockey for as long as I can remember. But yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at right now. But EVMC opened my eyes up, and I remember I was in a session, and I don't remember what it was called, as interns to something about intern success. And I sitting there listening to these powerful women speak, so all female panel, and just feeling, I got chills, and it sounds dramatic, but I got chills, and I was like, I know that I'm in the right room. I was meant to be here. And just kind of the moment that I was like, this is it. This was what I want to do for the rest of my life.
You've all had some great experience, with getting your foot in the door. So I guess, Sierra, you're doing some volunteering, you're doing some stuff. You mentioned at the beginning in your intro kind of what you're doing, but let's get into that a little bit. Tell us about kind of what your experience is that you're working on right now.
Yeah, for sure. So it's really a great opportunity. A lot of people don't see volunteering as a valuable experience. And I'm kind of an advocate for it just because it is what you make it. There's no expectations. There was nobody before me. I made this role. I saw them advertise for volunteers, and I went to them and said, can I be your social media volunteer? Because that was what I was really good at the time. And then I got into the marketing program and started to turn it into more marketing rather than just like content creation kind of thing. So I get to make it what I want. And now I get to take my learnings from school and apply it. So I'm learning about the fan experience and creating brand equity for the team outside of their performance on the ice and that fan experience, and giving the fans something to be excited about, even if the team is not playing well. So I get to do that every day. I get to come in with ideas. I want to bring back Chuck a Puck. I want to do the on ice games in between periods kind of thing. So just, it's that fan experience I'm so passionate about, and I get to apply my new education and knowledge to it. And that's really exciting. And I get to do all of the social media. I get to lead a team of social media volunteers and help foster their interest in the field. And yeah, it's great to get that leadership experience now, whereas before I was kind of just on my own and creating it into what I wanted it to be. And now I get to hopefully have a successor when I move on, which is kind of cool.
It's got to help too that you played, right, hockey. So does that give you some kind of special perspective when you're capturing content, when you're marketing? You're not just kind of there looking at it as a brand, but you understand the sport. You've, been in those skates, if you will. Has that helped you a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's in my opinion the best point of view to take when you're marketing and posting things and coming up with a fan experience, because I once was just a fan. I'm still a fan, but I look at it as from the point of view of the fan. What would I want to see, and what content would I want to consume? What activities would I want to do? What marketing strategies would work on me as a dedicated hockey fan? And I think that applies both to what Naomi and Marquise are doing as well as music fans and live entertainment fans as well. Like, you just kind of look at it from the point of view of what would I want to consume? What would work on me as a fan of music, sports, whatever it is that you're doing.
When you are getting that first experience, what do you think is important for people to keep in mind as they're walking into even a volunteering position like that?
I think it's just important to take initiative. Don't wait for somebody to ask you to do something. If you have an idea, if you want to bring something new to whatever it is you're doing, do it. That's a point of volunteer positions, of internship positions, is to contribute, to learn, and they want to hear that from you. So I think that's a great piece of advice for volunteering or internship, whatever it is to just make the best out of it. Bring your ideas. Don't wait for people to come to you to do things, and just take initiative. And they're not giving you the task that you want to do or anything like that, then ask to do something, kind of thing. Maybe I don't know if that's making sense, but
I think that makes total sense. Yeah. I mean, I think you're also making yourself invaluable in some way. You're making yourself kind of irreplaceable to some degree. And I think you all sort of alluded this when you talk to different people, but there's kind of 100 ways to skin the cat when it comes to getting into the industry. Excuse the kind of vulgar analogy, but but there is ultimately. I mean, it's kind of crazy, Dave and I, on all these episodes. I not that I was expecting there to be this sort of consistency, but I mean, every person we've talked to has got a different story, as they should, and that's one of the beautiful things about the human experience. But also it shows you that there's a lot of different ways you can kind of get your foot in the door and yank it open. But I think one of them certainly is when you get that opportunity, whether it's volunteering, whether it's kind of creating a position, is then just like wedging it more and more, making like, how can I add more to this and make it bigger? And that goes for even people as they advance in their careers. I find myself doing that now. I'm not wedging for my own position, but I'm now doing it for my department. Like, how can I add more people to my team? And I think you just have to think about how can you, add more. It's a little tricky because sometimes, you want to be careful. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, and you also want to take care of your mental health and everything, but also think of just opportunities to expand and really, not just do the tasks that have been given to you or that you found, but, how can you really just create things that never existed before? Because then, to be frank, when people think about losing you, whether you're a volunteer, an intern, or you're a coordinator or something, they're not thinking of losing someone that's doing the task they've given them. They're thinking, oh man, if I have to do that, now I'm going to be doing all these little things that person started doing that I didn't even know existed. Maybe I don't even know how to do that stuff. So it kind of creates this thing. And this is me showing my age, but back in 2008, when I entered the industry, there was no social media with events and venues, and I had kind of dipped my toe into it some, but that was my big wedge, and certainly now it's huge. But back in the day, it's like I remember telling them about it, and they were all kind of like, "I don't know what this is. We just need you to do some graphic design, and we need you to do some other projects, right?" But I'm like, "Yeah, but can I also do this little Twitter, Facebook thing on the side?" And they're like, "Sure, whatever." But then now, of course, it's huge and it's such a big part. But it was one of those things that when I kind of hitched my horse to that wagon, as it grew, I grew with it, and my importance in the company kind of grew with it. So I think it is certainly really important.
Naomi, let's switch gears over to your side. Tell us a little bit about what you've got going on.
Yeah, so right now I'm just in school at my MBA program here. So doing a lot of like,
You say that as if it's not a lot, right?
yeah,
I'm
I
just,
know.
casually in my free time.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of working away at that, getting my classes finished up and kind of looking for my next internship opportunity. I'm lucky with the program that I'm in is that there's 3 internship program spots, so 4 months each. And so I kind of get to dip my toes in a little bit and kind of work my way in kind of the industry I want to go into. That's kind of how I got opened up to MLSE, and that's
Yeah.
where I started. Yeah.
Tell us about what you did with your time at MLSE.
Yeah, so that was back in January. I started there. I took on the role and I did a lot of like artist gifting. That was my main role there, which was incredible. A lot of show day-to-day opportunities like seat filling, worked with the media, and then kind of gotten my way into the social media a little bit, working with that team because that was something that I had previous experience in, and I kind of knew I wanted to work on that. A lot of like I say rejection therapy because I'd be going up to people in the crowds and filming them and kind of on content. And it was great. And working on like longer form marketing campaigns, working with Live Nation a lot because it's kind of like 50-50 there. Did a lot of social media strategy with influencers. It was incredible. Every day was different, but that's what I loved about it.
That is awesome. I mean, it's certainly a great place for you to learn all about that. I mean, we love all of our MLSE people, shout out to Adam and Daniel. But,
Yeah.
when you're doing artist gifting, you're at one of the peak artist gifting places in the world, probably.
Yeah,
That's,
it was
that's
so
not,
cool. I'm like,
not
how am I
hyperbole.
ordering a foosball table right now and also getting a painting commissioned across the world
Right.
at the same time?
Yeah.
I'm like, what is my day today? But it was great.
That's awesome. So what did you take with you from that experience that you'll carry with you to the next job? What was the big takeaway for you?
Biggest thing was just doing as much as I can. Even when I was there, we had a really strong internship network. So there was me just on the team and the live section, but there was also the sports section as well. And I developed really strong like intern relationships with them. And so I was volunteering at the sports events and I was going to these late night partnership talks. And it was something where I really tried to gather as much information as I could from the different industries, because I think you can learn so much from all of them and then apply them to this one as well. So really gaining all of that and then just really realizing my passion and kind of finding a direction for myself in life. It really solidified that this is something I'm passionate about and want to do. And now it's everything that I'm working towards, all of my job applications and everything. So just doing as much as I can and learning from everybody.
It's awesome. I love that. It's great to have those experiences. Marquise, I know you've done a little bit, so tell us about kind of get a little more info on what you're up to these days.
Yes, sir, of course. So like I said, I'm right now I'm currently an event coordinator at the Alamo Dome. I've been doing that position for about 3 years now or so. Prior to me being an event coordinator, I was also an artist relations coordinator for Live Nation for a little bit with Kendrick Lamar back in 22. With that, I was more of his like VIP. Whenever they did meet and greets and stuff like that, I was able to coordinate logistics for the meet and greets and also the VIP packages and stuff. And then I decided once that tour ended and that opportunity ended, I decided to volunteer my services at the Alamo Dome. Whether that was either security aid, but I also had a temporary position as one of the parking attendants, just to get that foot through the door. And also,
You learn a lot being a parking attendant. I don't, yeah, that is that there's a lot. And you get a great appreciation too for just the amount of people that are coming in and pain points. I think that's a thing that we sometimes are trying to identify in marketing and PR is like these pain points for people as they're parking, as they're coming in, egress and all of that stuff. And when you are out in the parking lot, you are in the thick of it. You are in the trenches of people coming into the show. I mean, I'm sure that was a lot.
yeah, it's most definitely you're the first face of
Yeah.
every.
Yeah.
So that definitely brightened my experience there, just even stepping foot into a venue, because I never worked in a venue during that time. And so seeing like the load in part of it from the event itself, but then also working with the customer service and seeing how an event runs for different events here made me feel comfortable during that time too. So I think just starting out, any opportunity, I was willing to just get my foot through the door. I was able to take it. So I started off as a parking attendant, and then I was talking to the event coordinators that are currently there right now, asking them for advice, like how can I get into your shoes, or what advice can you give me for somebody that possibly wants to do this. And I think it just took that one conversation, that one moment to connect with somebody, and then an opportunity came up and they were like, hey, if you would like to just interview. And so I got the opportunity to interview for an event coordinator. And then 2 days later, they called me. They're like, hey, we're going to offer you. Would you like to take it? And so I was like, I never done this before, but yes. So
That's exciting, though.
Yes. So it's definitely a good experience. Definitely had some humble experiences, and there's big events there sometimes too. So
it's so cool to hear about everybody's experience, and everybody's kind of at a different path, which is what we find when we talk to people that have been in the business for 25, 30 years. Their whole path can be so different and varied, and often it just starts with that first door that's open. What can we answer for you? What questions are there that are out there for us?
Let's open it up. We won't pretend like we know everything about everything, but we can certainly do our best to give advice. Hit us with it.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
So going back to when you were first breaking into the industry, what do you think was like the characteristic that kind of set you apart and that got you that foot in the door?
I think somewhat like I mentioned with the, just doing as many things as I could. But this is weird. This is uncomfortable for me. I'm going to be honest, because I'm not someone that likes to self-brag. But one thing I did that I don't really talk about, but all the people that work with me know this about me, is I tried to go like the extra mile in all these really small ways. And sometimes it was really silly stuff. I'm not going to lie. Like I would, for Valentine's Day, go get like superhero Valentines, like in the boxes that you get when you're a little like second grader, and would address them to all of our team members and bring candy around and drop them off. And sometimes they have like little scratch and sniff things and just all this goofy stuff. But it was like just really goofy things like that. I would host like movie watches during lunch because we're all stressed out, and I would do that. Or like when we would have our team in the tournament at UK, I would go buy some like Dunkin' Donuts that were like blue and white donuts and bring them in the morning for people. And that's the one thing that kind of stands out to me, because I didn't see a lot of other people doing that. And I've had people fast forward however many years now, 15 years or something later, there are people that I will continue to see. Like I went back to that arena for a show recently and ran into this guest services lady who's like the sweetest person ever. And she's like, oh my God, Paul, and like runs over and hugs me. And she's like, there's my Valentine. I still have your Valentines pinned to my cork board in my office. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that was 6 or 7 years ago, the last time I did that. But it's like, I think there's certain ways that you can find that are within your personality, being authentic to you, but making those meaningful connections to people, and don't be afraid to kind of like poke fun at yourself or have fun, because it's a fun industry. So I think like you can be kind of goofy and that's okay. And if there's stuffy people, that's fine. You'll learn who those people are real quick. And but I think that's maybe what stood out to people for me. What about you, Dave?
It's a number of things, but the biggest thing is just doing what you say you're going to do. And I know that sounds so simple, right? But I was in the radio side of the business. And obviously being on the radio side, we worked with the venues quite a bit. And I remember my first day of my first job as a marketing director in radio, I got a call, "Hey, can you send us a proposal over for this show?" And I honestly I had no idea what a proposal was. And if you think Paul was dating himself with 2008, I'm going to tell you that I'm old enough that the internet didn't exist. I couldn't Google how to put together a proposal or how to do anything, so I had to make it up. But I was able to do it, right? And so what happened is from that point, it was real simple. If somebody asked me if could help them or work with them on something, I did what I said I was going to do. And if I had a deadline for it, I always met that deadline. Now, that sounds like the simplest thing in the world. Do what you say you're going to do and then meet the deadline. And that's by just doing that, it put me ahead of so many people.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
And
It's
that's
kind of
it,
crazy
right? I
that
mean,
you would think
that
that
was
everyone's doing that, but that's actually like
that was the key to my success is just doing the basics, right? But so many people failed at that, right? So if you
Yeah.
could be a consistent resource for people
Yes.
and be reliable, that's one of the best things you can do. And the other thing is, you guys have all three of you have touched on relationships and the importance of relationships. And I always found that a key piece of my success in this business is that I never treat anybody like they're working for me. I treat people like they're working with me, whether they're an intern and it's their first day on the job, or it's somebody that's my superior. I think we're all in this together, right? We are all in the trenches together, and I don't kiss ass because I don't believe in that. I believe in doing a good job and letting your work speak for itself. But I think if we just treat people well and be kind, and then get to know, if you have a minute to find out what TV show they're binging, and yeah, we can talk about Severance for 5 minutes before we talk about what we need to do for that big show that's going to announce next week. And you make that personal connection that goes a long way, because when something goes sideways, they're going to be there in the trench with you.
Well said. All
What
right,
else?
what else?
For?
Yeah.
Anything
Give
else?
us more.
I have a quick follow-up question to that topic. What is one mistake that you made early in your career that taught you a valuable lesson that you still carry with you to this day?
I think okay, I'll have one tiny example. This is really silly because it's a small mistake, but it taught me a good lesson. So I would often, way before I was doing any sort of involvement in artist gifting, I would often get pulled in to take photos of the artist gift. So I would end up being there with our staff. And this was earlier artist gifting days too. So it would often be jerseys or custom bourbon bottles because #Kentucky. But so I remember one time I got pulled in, and it's, a very small responsibility of taking that photo. You're basically just waiting. And then when the artists and the venue people are ready, you snap a photo of them. And we had Taylor Swift in, I think, for the second or third show. And I went to take the photo, and the camera wasn't working. I was like, why is this camera not working? It's always working. What's going on? And of course, if you're in those shoes, that like 2 seconds of everyone staring down the lens, it feels like 3 hours. And you've got Taylor Swift there in front of you looking at you like, take the photo. I've got to go do stuff. Not rudely, but like, what's going on? And I'm sitting there panicking, like, I got to get this photo. I got to get this photo. I got to get these photos. Well, then, of course, I check and look in the memory card door, and I forgot to take the memory card out of my computer and put it in the camera from up in my office. And I ended up kind of looking around, staying calm. I didn't admit that that's what it was because I didn't want to make myself look like a fool. But then I looked around and saw that she had like a meet and greet photographer there, or like a kind of hospitality photographer. And she's like, hey, do you want to use my camera? And kind of maybe she identified that I was having this little panic moment. And I was like, that would be amazing. And I wasn't kind of afraid to ask for help. And then I took that camera and I took the photo, and no one on my team really thought anything of it. No one on Taylor's camp thought anything of it. But in my head, I'm like screaming at the top of my lungs. And then as I like leave the room, I'm like, why did you like yelling at myself? Like, what are you doing? It could have gone so bad. So I don't know. There's probably way bigger mistakes, but certainly it's some of those small ones that really like stick with you forever. And that one sticks with me, but it's one of those things that I think it taught me a lesson that, to Dave's point, you are in this greater machine with a lot of other people. And sometimes that's people that you've never met before. It's not even your coworkers. You're the tours in town. They're there. We're all there to get a job done and get the show on the road. And you have to kind of be willing to ask for help and then accept it and accept what you can get from it. I think I learned that certainly on that day.
So here's a fun moment. Something's happened during this podcast that I need to leave. If you truly learn from your mistakes, I'm the smartest man in show business because I've made every mistake you can make, but I never make the same mistake twice, right? So that's the key. Also, I was gifting Taylor Swift a custom guitar with her cat on it one time, and I hadn't. I'm going back to give it to Taylor, and the guitar case gets locked up. I hadn't opened it on the day of the event, and so Taylor.
We all have a lot of Taylor Swift trauma.
During the meet and greet, had to drop down to her knees to help me open the guitar case to give her the gift. I'm still mortified by that. But hey, Paul, I'm so sorry. I do have to roll. Hey, you guys, you're awesome. Good luck with everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. What other questions? What other things? Give me some good ones. Yeah.
Yes. My question is, has there ever been a time where the vision that you have is bigger than the amount of resources that you have surrounded by you?
I'm not joking. That is a daily occurrence for me, probably multiple times a day. One of my, I don't know, biggest strengths and probably biggest weaknesses is I force myself, I can't stop my brain from trying to like innovate on things. And I like being the first person to do something, even if it's not all that exciting. I just want to be the first person to do it. And I don't know what that is. I don't know where that came from, but I think it has helped me a lot in my career because it does let me get really creative and often do things for the first time. And people are like, whoa, I've never thought about that. But where it hurts me sometimes is my vision is often much bigger than I can complete or than I have time to do. And I think what I've learned a lot from that is how to scale back ideas sometimes or to break it apart. So if the end goal is this big vision I thought of, how can I get there via a lot of little baby steps and not try to rocket myself to the top immediately? Because that's not going to work and I'm going to fail. So sometimes it's just like, can I do something small? Can I test it out? And something that is attainable, something I know I can complete and do within my time. And then if that works, maybe I scale it up, or then I use that to sell my team or sell my boss and say, this thing worked well. Here's my end goal. How do we get there? And certainly I think if you have a really interesting and unique vision and you have invested in those relationships, sometimes people want to go on that journey with you. Like they're like, heck yeah, like let's see where this goes. And hopefully too, I will say I had a couple mentors of mine, I would say, in this industry who I met from the conference. And I learned early on that you really should not be afraid to fail. We've mentioned it a couple times while we're recording, but you should expect to fail. And that isn't to discourage you from trying to do stuff, but it's more of how can I think of 20 crazy ideas and maybe 2 of them are right out of the box going to work immediately. Great. 18 of them need a little workshopping. And sometimes that's me kicking it around for a couple of years in my own brain or writing it down and revisiting it. Sometimes it's running it past coworkers or friends and saying, hey, I was thinking about doing this. It sounds crazy. What do you think? And sometimes they can really help you solve that puzzle that your own brain can't. And other times it's trying it and you think it's going to work well and it fails real bad. And then you sometimes are like, cool, now I know that's not going to work and I will avoid stepping in that muddy puddle again. Or sometimes it's like, okay, why did it fail? And can we reapproach this, but kind of through that new lens of understanding, what created that failure and learning from it to kind of do something else. But I think you should be excited to fail. A lot of people say that quote, fail faster, which sounds a little cheesy, but you really should be excited to like stretch your brain and think of creative ideas, knowing that some of them aren't going to work, but like hopefully most of them will work. Just some will take a little more time than others. So if you looked if you looked at my task list currently for work, I've got like things I need to get done this afternoon. I've got things I got to do this week. I've got timestamp things that it's like, I know I need to get stuff done. And then I've got this like catch-all bucket of crazy ideas that I will think of when I'm in the shower and my brain is kind of in this lucid state. Sometimes it's when I'm laying down, going to sleep. Sometimes I'm watching a movie or a show and it inspires me. I'm out with friends, grabbing dinner and someone says something and I'm like, whoa. And like it just immediately sparks. And I'll put it in this bucket and I'll kind of revisit that bucket every so often and think, is now the time for this? And sometimes it's, when I look at it again, I'm like, oh my God, why did I have that? Like, that's a stupid idea. Like, I look at it later, I'm like, what am I doing and what am I thinking? But then sometimes when I revisit it like that, I'm able to refine it a little bit more and scale it back in and kind of bring it back to reality. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But constantly, it is a struggle I have. How do I make things realistic? Oh my gosh. What else? Any other ones? Sierra, you look like you're like ready. You're like mouth is half open, like you're ready to ask something.
I don't want to interrupt anybody because you can't talk over each other on Zoom. So I'll make sure I'm saying it at the right time. But I do have a question. What qualities or habits have you noticed in young professionals that go on to succeed in the field that maybe we could learn from?
That's a great question. I think certainly an eagerness to learn and an eagerness to find personal pride through pride in your company or your brand. Meaning that I think it's a challenge and I think everyone tries to figure out how to toe that line. You're trying to market yourself certainly, and you're trying to advance your career and showcase things that you've done. But also you need to make sure that if you're doing a really good job in your role at your company, whatever that is, if it's with a team or a venue or something, that is going to speak for itself and that speaks for your brand. You don't need to tell people. And so you shouldn't necessarily be looking for like personal, I don't know, achievements that you can point out to people, but more of like, how can I take so much pride in this brand and make it the best it can be? And then people will notice that. I mean, they'll notice it constantly. And I think, if you let's just like take an example of, let's say you got hired at a venue and you notice their like Instagram account is really crappy, or maybe they don't even have an Instagram account. And that's like it's a kind of easy fix. It is a grind, especially when you're starting out new. You're not like jumping in with 10,000, 40,000 followers. You're jumping in with one follower and it's you. And like, how do you grind that out? But that's something where you can then, take pride in like, okay, I am going to grind this out. I'm going to grow this account. It's going to complete what we need to do. It's going to sell tickets. It's also going to build our brand. It's going to connect with the community. It's like you're thinking of that altruistically and that it's doing all these great things that are really beyond you. But then in doing so, that is speaking to like your talents in doing that. You're going to that next job interview. You can be like, I built this account from 100 followers to 20,000 followers. And that's when you can kind of toot your horn a little bit. And there's certainly other opportunities to like, brag a little on LinkedIn, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the people that I've seen succeed most are the ones that are really invested in the task at hand and understand that also will help them in the long run. It's not just, investing in themselves. It's kind of like, how can I just really go all in and make sure I do the best job I can possibly do? And then that will speak for itself.
I have a question that's kind
Yeah.
of prevalent to me right now. One thing that I'm nervous about moving forward in my career is being pigeonholed into like, the wrong industry. And this will make sense in a second. But basically, where I'm at, especially with school right now, is with internships. I kind of have to take the internships as they come, and there's not necessarily a million options in this industry for me to get my next internship. I wish that was an option, but sometimes I might have to take an opportunity that is not directly in line with this field. And it makes me nervous because I know this is something I want to be in, but unfortunately, there just isn't a lot of opportunity, like I said, all the time.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice, or if you have experience like looking at job applications and maybe it's not in the exact field, how would you kind of look at or approach that, someone coming from a different industry?
I think first I will say I've had the same fears. There's been an opportunity where I had one time, and it's been a number of years ago, but I've worked here in Lexington the whole time, but there was an opportunity that was kind of floated to me by a few people that would be more or less overseeing the social for a team. And it would be exciting. It would be in a much bigger city and a much bigger brand than Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. But when I looked at it, I was afraid. I think I made the right decision too. I don't really have any regrets on it, but I was afraid that I was going so deep into the social realm that I was going to not get enough other marketing experience. And at the time, I think social was not as prominent as it is now. Now, I mean, you're an expert on social, you're basically an expert on marketing. But at the time, it was kind of like, if I do this, I could be great at it. Maybe I would really enjoy it. But am I then hitting the ceiling in that one little area, and I'm not able to kind of come back to like the greater scope of marketing in general? And so I did have that fear and ended up not pursuing it for that reason. And some other reasons too. But I will say, I think like when hiring stuff, so I have someone on my team now, this is a good example, and she's still in school, she's finishing school. And especially when people are earlier in their careers, I think hiring managers should have an expectation that they might not have a lot of direct experience. That's just understandable. But even if it's middle of their career, you have to kind of weed through that on the resume and understand that a lot of things are applicable in different areas. Like if you came from a totally different industry, like this person that works for me had some working experience, but ultimately like one of her biggest jobs was a manager at a Little Caesars Pizza. And that sounds like that is not a lot, right? Like you talk to a lot of people, it sounds like very fast foody. It's like, that's not event marketing. That's a big jump, right? But I needed someone that could do a lot of like event setups and manage a lot of details, and also help kind of oversee, projects and work with other people. So when certainly, the interview weighed into that and having conversation with her, but also I'm looking at it, this is someone who's managed a team under a lot of stress and pressure. They have really they were younger than a lot of the people on their team, and were able to kind of get them to dial it in and get things done. And that experience, whether it's Little Caesars or it's any other place, this podcast is not sponsored by Little Caesars, but it could be for a low price. But that experience is invaluable, and it doesn't matter what field it's in. So I think if there's opportunities to broaden your horizon, and they're still in the general field area, or even like really stretching that, I think that's okay. And I think people people will understand that. You don't have to feel like you're making your life's decision with one internship, because you can always reinvent yourself as many times as you like. And I think also the industry is much broader than maybe you think it is too. Coming from someone who currently works in parks and recreation for a city government, but guess what? We had events all last week. I was doing event marketing. I'm not working for a team. I don't have an arena, but we have amphitheaters, we have other facilities, and we have over 100 parks, and we're doing huge city events and these giant scale things. So I'm still in the thick of events, but I'm not in it in what one might consider like a traditional way. So I think I would not be afraid to explore it, especially early in your career, because any good hiring manager worth their salt is going to understand that, experience is experience and it's all applicable.
I have a question. So picking back a little bit off of that topic and that conversation, that question. So I know we're all still pretty new to this industry, even though we might have experience. But one thing I like to do is scroll on social media to see who's in the same position as me, what's working for them. And I feel like now, I don't know if it was like this earlier, but I felt in this position where I'm at right now, how do you give advice, or what can you tell somebody first new into this industry when they're applying to those opportunities and they get rejection, and then they're trying to find all these different opportunities and skill sets and they keep on getting rejected? And I'm the type of person to where I will like to take any opportunity at give and take, because I don't know when my next opportunity is.
Yeah.
And having that rejection, and also not having a support system surrounded, like, you're supposed to be a doctor, how come you're not
Right.
pursuing
Yeah.
this? So I felt like in this generation, or at least with me, is that what advice can I receive? Keep on going and not also listening to the surrounding negative talks and continue forward.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your perspective, first off. I think that is a challenge. I think certainly I've been there. I've applied for various jobs and gotten rejected. It's never easy. But I also think I had a bit of like a paradigm shift, as everyone did in 2020. But one of the big paradigm shifts for me was, I kind of knew this, but it really like kind of recalibrated my brain into thinking, to always try to go for opportunities. It's sort of like this is going to get way heavier than we probably need to get on this podcast, but we're all only here for so many years, right? And we're going to enjoy what we're doing, hopefully, for our careers, and we're going to make the best of whatever situation we're in. We're going to, do what we can, but ultimately, I think you should explore exciting opportunities, and some of them are not going to work out, and that's okay. And sometimes, like, the way I would look at that, especially if it goes further and you get to like an interview stage, this sounds really cheesy, because it sounds like, oh, I'm not breaking up with you, you're breaking up with me, or you're not breaking up with me, I'm breaking up with you. But truly, if someone doesn't choose to hire you, it probably means they were never going to fully understand what you brought to the job to begin with. And it's easy to say that when you didn't get the job, because like, how do you workshop that hypothesis? But if they can't see the value through your resume and through your interviews, then they weren't going to see it when you're in the workplace. And so I think, like, that's the perspective I like to keep in mind, not only for myself, but like friends of mine that are applying for jobs, or whenever I've got anyone on my team who's kind of like pursuing their next step. Is, it's easy to say that and not be trying to look, or, not looking for a job to try to pay your bills, at the end of the day. But ultimately, if you've got a job and you're kind of applying for other ones, you're going to find a right fit, because it's going to be the people that can understand what you're going to bring to the position. So I think that helps me when it comes to any sort of rejection like that. Think of it not as like they're rejecting you, but more of like they just didn't quite realize what value you have. It doesn't mean you don't have value. It means you have a lot, but for some reason they don't understand that, and that's their fault, you know. So I think you know, keep at it. There's you know, everyone always hears about success stories and sees, you know, it's essentially like Instagram where people post all the sunny stuff on Instagram, right? Here's my great achievements and my beach photos and all the stuff. But it's the same with LinkedIn, right? People are posting when they're hitting anniversaries. They're posting about new positions. They're not posting, hey, I failed and did not get this job. Hey, I got rejected in this job. That is happening a lot. You're just not seeing it. So that's not unique to you. It will never be unique to you. So there's a lot of people that are doing that. So I think that doesn't make it any easier, but hopefully, you know, you find some solace and understanding, like it's happening everywhere. You know, it's just no one's shouting it like, oh my gosh, you know, I posted on your LinkedIn, I just didn't get a job, you know? So, you know, but it happens a lot. And I think, you know, you'll find a place that's meant to be a right fit for you. And then it's just about, you know, making it a home, and then certainly exploring and seeing, you know, what other steps might be beyond that. All right, I'll give you one more question, and then beyond this, I will happily do informational interviews with any of you all. So, but that way I don't take up too much of your time, or vice versa. But one more question. Do you want the pressure, Sierra?
I just wanted to kind of speak a little bit on Marquise's question, if I
Yeah,
may.
yeah.
To give a little bit of, I guess, advice to anybody who doesn't have experience or is having trouble getting the experience. From my perspective, I was kind of the same. I was in media communications. I didn't have any marketing experience, any specific experience, anything like that. So I created it. Like I said earlier, I sought out the stars and I said, can I create this position for myself? I volunteered. Obviously, in this economy, it's hard to volunteer your time for free, but if you're passionate about it and it's going to get you to where you want to be, then it's worth it, right? And what better way to spend your free time? And then I also started my own social media management business, and I'm learning things like that. And I'm creating those kind of resume things on my own. That's I'm not going to apply to everybody in every market or whatever, but just a little bit of advice to just kind of go out there and create those experiences for yourself if you're getting those rejections based on lack of experience. That's maybe not totally what we're talking about here with lack of experience. Maybe just obviously not them not seeing your value. But if anybody listening has the issue where they don't have the experience, then that's kind of my tidbit. I've been living that experience for the last 10 years. So, and I've obviously gotten, I would like to say, pretty far based on where I started. So,
Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes the experience is not necessarily a paid job. Sometimes the paid job is the paid job that's going to pay the bills, and then the experience is what you're doing that evening, volunteering, or you know, it's dabbling in your own side business. How can I, hustle over here and kind of get a little experience there. And then when you get that opportunity, then you're kind of like, maybe you shine a little less light on whatever, making Jimmy John's sandwiches. And you say, I've run my own digital marketing company for 3 years, and I've, worked at this, building for however many years, and they don't need to know it was volunteer. You were there doing work. So whether you're paid or not. So that's a good point.
And like on the rejection thing, I feel like I'm getting a rejection email every single day, but it doesn't stop me from applying over and over again. I know what I want to do and what I need to do to get there, and I won't stop going for it. So many people give up, but it only takes like that one person or one conversation to finally land you where you need to be. And so you can't stop trying.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you all for joining us. And also a special shout out to Naomi, who kind of was that spark that sparked this. And it's very interesting too, because I try to make it a point every year as much as I can to meet all the different interns and have kind of sometimes it's a very short conversation of, whatever, 15 seconds. Sometimes it's a little longer, but I try to like make a connection with each of the interns in some way, or at least try to like help them if they're trying to find someone else? How can I be that connector for you and introduce you to this person? Or how can I do whatever it was? And Naomi, I had not really talked to the whole week. Just because the way that, there's 500, 600 people and we're all scattered around. So really one of the first times I met her was on that final event night, and I'm sitting there talking to someone else, and she came up and talked to me and was like, "Hey, I have a podcast pitch for you." And I'm like, "Let's go." Like, from my perspective, I'm like, awesome. Like, let's go. Tell me about it. And then whether she wanted to or not, I like drug her around with me as people were like, let's go to the photo booth. And I was like, Naomi, follow me to the photo booth and tell me about this idea as we walk up the stairs. Okay, pose for this photo. Okay, now keep telling me about this idea. Cause I'm just like, let's do it. And then you can attest to this. We get back from the conference and I'm like, I'm already off to the races. Like, I'm sending her concepts. I'm like, I've already talked to our team about it. I'm designing graphics. This is also going back to my brain, not slowing down. So I'm like firing. So, but yes, thank you for the idea. And I think it is something that we try to do with the podcast, but it is a challenge we want to make sure we have these experts on from various points of their career, but also most of them inevitably end up being more manager level or above, or directors, or sometimes veterans. And that doesn't always look like your all's experience, and your experience won't look like the experience of people that are 10 years behind you either. So I think it is great to hear from you all, because, I think hopefully other people will find some value from this episode, because they're kind of hearing your challenges and hopefully, can find some kinship in that. I guess we'll kind of go around the horn one last time, but just remind people, tell them your names. I know you all are all on LinkedIn, but if you want to drop your little LinkedIn names, or if you share any other socials, some people don't want people to know their Instagram. That's totally fine. Or if you have an email that you use, drop it and let's say it so that we can, if people want to reach out to you all, maybe they're your peers and they want to kind of, lick their wounds together with you as they're also getting rejection emails, or maybe it's someone that, hears you and is excited to maybe explore an opportunity. We'll start with Marquise.
Yes, Marquise Summers, San Antonio, Texas. You can add me on my Instagram, official.summers. That might change, so it might be Marquise.Summers. You can add my LinkedIn also. It's just Marquise Summers, MARQUISE, SOMMERS. And if you want my email, it's first name, last name @gmail.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks. Sierra?
Yeah, you can just find me on LinkedIn, which is just my first and last name. So it's Sierra, SIERRA, Ross, ROSS. And then if you want to take a look at my sports Instagram, I have a bit of my photography on there. It's Sports by Sierra on Instagram. And then my email is first last name 111@gmail.com.
Awesome. Didn't know you were a sports photographer. Now we need to talk about that. Okay. Naomi?
Yeah, so Naomi Redwood. You can find me on LinkedIn at Naomi Redwood, NAOMI, and then Redwood like the tree. And then, email Naomi L Redwood @gmail.com. Couldn't get the full name.
Awesome. Well, as a middle name, middle initial person, I'm there with you. So
yeah,
I think that's good. Cool. Well, thank you all again so much for joining us. And thanks everyone for listening to this special detour episode of Adventures in Venueland, and our first breaking in episode, bonus episode. So hopefully you'll see some more of these. We're planning on chatting with some of these great people's peers, the other interns that we had at this year's conference, but also would love to talk to some professors and some hiring managers. And certainly if you've made it this far into the episode and you're excited about this, reach out. Maybe you're that professor and you want to give some advice or something. Let us know. And if you're listening on any of the platforms, be sure to give us a 5-star review. That really helps other people find us. And until the next adventure, for Dave Rettelberger and myself, Paul Hooper, thanks for listening, everyone. Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Venue Marketing Conference, a marketing conference that brings together diversified event and venue professionals to cultivate education, collaboration, and innovation for the growing sports and live entertainment industry. Find out more at eventvenuemarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeck.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.